Hi, my name is Bjorn and this is Bev Live. It is Super Bowl weekend, so it's an exciting weekend all over the world. The whole world will be watching football this weekend, and great drinks will be flowing. In many households, people will be drinking beer, but also in many others, they'll be drinking wine. So to talk about Super Bowl and it being an exciting event. Some people get out exciting wines, and that brings us to aging wines. So today we'll talk about how to age wine, what aging in wine means. After last week, and if you haven't watched last week's show, please go do so, because Brett and I talked about all the exciting things that are happening at Bev Live behind the scenes, all the great, fantastic new features that are coming out soon. So if you haven't seen that, go back to last week and have a look. But today we'll talk about aging wine. What does that mean? Basically, it just means you put your bottle in a dark, somewhat cool place, and you wait. You wait for it to get better. And at least that's the idea of aging. Sometimes you wait too long and it actually gets worse. So most wines, though, are not meant for cellaring. So most wines that people buy, they purchase and drink that day. But then there are those of us who like to put wine away for a little bit in the hopes that it will get better over time. And so that brings us to aging. Like I said, the best place to age a wine is in a cool place. Usually, temperature in a perfect world would be the 50s. Many of us, can't do that. But if you have the possibility of storing it in a cooler space, please do so. And also, it should be dry. A drier place would be good. And dark. Why dark? Because if you have it in a light place, the constant light that is on the bottle will have an impact on aging. I mean, it is a natural product after all. One thing that is very important, and I highly recommend you do, is don't have the bottle standing up. What you definitely want to do is you want to lay it down. The reasons for that are twofold. For cork closures, you ensure that way that the cork stays moist, so that when you have this bottle lying there for 2 or 3 years, you don't come back to a bottle where the cork is completely dried up and kind of falls apart, and there's a big mess, and all this cellaring was worth it. So lay the wine down. Same goes actually for screw caps. The reason there is different. If there is an issue with the screw cap, you will see much earlier that there is an issue. What I mean by that is, if you lay it down and you have some wine kind of coming out at some point, there's an issue. You should probably not cellar it any longer. Whereas if you have it just standing up, you would never know. And that would not be good. So cool place, dark place, and lay down the wine. Why do people age wines? Really good question. So when you buy a wine, you have like all of the primary characteristics of that wine, which in many cases would be like nice fruit. As a wine ages, the fruit characteristics will get a little bit less, and the characteristics that they were kind of hiding in some ways are coming into play. So you may think of it as a wine that you are not aging. It could be straightforward, huge overgeneralization, but could be more straightforward. And as you then age the wine, fruit characteristics go down a little bit, and then you have other characteristics, tastes in the wine that you didn't have before. So the wine changes, hopefully it changes for the better. Not every wine should be cellared. But some wines are just not, let's say, good enough to withstand, wine just lying in the cellar and hoping for a better day. So they will not get better over time. They would actually get worse. And so you kind of have to know, what you are aging. You have to kind of know what quality is in that bottle of wine. And the experts like we at BevLife can tell you. Get in contact with us if you have any questions. More than happy to answer any questions in regards to aging wines, and we can send you over some recommendations of our thoughts in regards to specific wines. If you don't purchase your wines from BevLife, which you should, or ask your local retailer where you bought the bottle, and they will probably be familiar with the wine and may even know somebody who has aged some of these wines and could be helpful. One fun thing that you could do is if you have access to really special wine, buy a fair amount of bottles of those and drink them over time. Have one now, then wait a little bit, let it age, have one next year or at a special occasion, or have the same wine, same vintage every year on your birthday, for example. It would be a fun thing to do, something you look forward to every year. And so like I said, the wine changes is chemicals after all, and with big wines, we're not just talking about fruit like I mentioned before, but we're also talking about tannins. So if you have some really nice wine, like let's say some really nice Bordeaux, when they're young, they have a lot of tannins sitting on top of the fruit flavors, sitting on top of everything. So you open these wines, you're all excited, and all you're tasting or all you're getting is tannins. So you realize very quickly this was a big mistake. And then later on, you decide if you have more bottles. Maybe I'm going to put down those bottles for a little bit and let them age for a little bit. So every wine ages differently. Even every wine from the same winery ages differently, because many use cork closures, and cork closures are a natural product too, and every cork is slightly different. So the small amounts of air that get through the cork into the wine or into the wine area in the bottle are always slightly different. So you may have a wine that aged amazingly, and then you have one wine right next to it that didn't age quite as well because the cork made it different. So there are a lot of discussions actually. It's like, why do people put wine in cork? And it's about the oxidation. It's like the little small amounts of air that do get through the cork have an impact, a chemical reaction with the wine, and the wine ages that way. And therefore often wines that are in screw cap closures age differently than wines in cork closures. Not necessarily worse. I mean, there have been some studies where they showed how a wine in screw cap actually aged quite amazingly. Different, but I wouldn't say worse or better. So if you have the opportunity to have access to some really, really nice wines, we got some really nice wines on BevLife, put them away for a little bit. See how it changes. See how it changes over time. Have some fun with it. Enjoy those wines. And thanks so much for watching. I hope everybody's going to have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. And I wish you a great weekend, a great week. And I will see you next week.